As you watch this video, something monumental is happening almost 400,000 kilometers from here. China is not just planning to visit the moon again, they have already started construction. The goal is not just to plant a flag and go home. The plan is to create humanity's first permanent outpost, music, outside of Earth. It starts with robots, and we've already seen several of them operating there. But this is just the tip of the iceberg of a much larger project. We're talking about people living on the lunar surface, and surprisingly, even below it. But make no mistake, music, the moon, is a brutal place. It's a graveyard of probes and ambitions. Landing there safely is already a logistical nightmare. But the real enemy is the environment. Imagine a place with no air, music, no atmosphere, where there is no protection. When the sun rises, the temperature cooks anything to over 120 degrees C. And when the sun sets, you face instant freezing at minus 30 degrees C. And worst of all, as the moon rotates in slow motion compared to Earth, you have to survive 14 uninterrupted days of scorching sun, followed by 14 days of total music and freezing darkness. And if that wasn't enough, we have cosmic radiation and constant meteorite showers. So how on earth does China plan to keep human beings alive in this celestial hell? Stay with me, because what they are building will change the history of space exploration forever. To understand the gravity of the challenge, we need to go back to 2019. China made a historic landing on the far side of the moon with the Chang'e 4 mission. But on board, there were not only cameras and sensors. There was a small sealed container, a biosphere experiment called the lunar microecosystem. Inside it, cotton seeds, potatoes, Drosophila eggs, and yeast. The idea was simple, but audacious, to try to create a self-sustaining life cycle, providing artificial air, water, and nutrients. At first, the impossible happened. The cotton seeds sprouted. For the first time in the history of the universe, a green leaf was born on the surface of the moon. It was a moment of hope, but the moon is unforgiving. In a few days, Chinese scientists reported that the extreme temperature swings penetrated the experiment. The brutal cold killed everything. That small sprout froze and died, proving that the moon is essentially a death zone. That's why the Chinese strategy changed. They realized there's no point in sending humans now. First, you send the machines. Think of it as a three-phase plan. Phase 1 is reconnaissance. Phase 2 is heavy construction. Phase 3 is human habitation. Right now, we're halfway through Phase 1, but what comes next in Phase 2 is where science fiction turns into reality. How do you build a house in a world without Home Depot or building material stores? The obvious solution would be to build everything on Earth and launch rockets to the moon, but that is incredibly expensive, risky, and inefficient. Every kilogram launched into space costs a fortune. China chose the harder yet smarter path, to use what is already there. We call this in situ resource utilization, basically living off the land. The future Chang'e mission, scheduled for 2028, will test a revolutionary technology, transforming lunar soil, regolith, into bricks. The process is fascinating. Autonomous robots will sweep the lunar pole, place it in molds, and cook these blocks in high-temperature ovens. Imagine robot masons stacking these bricks, creating rectangles, cubes, and arches, using a special mortar to seal the joints. These thick blocks of moon rock are perfect for blocking deadly radiation and insulating the interior from temperature changes. But here we have an engineering problem: pressure. Since the moon has no atmosphere, the interior of the base needs to be pressurized so that humans can breathe without spacesuits. The problem is music that square or rectangular structures made of bricks are terrible at holding pressure. Think of gas tanks or submarines. They are always round or cylindrical. Corners create weak points that explode under pressure. So the Chinese idea is to use these bricks as an external protective shell, while the actual pressurized and rounded habitat would be protected inside. But they have a second trick up their sleeve, something much more futuristic. What if instead of bricks, we could simply print the entire base? China is developing the concept of the moon pot vessel. Here we eliminate the masons. A giant 3D printer uses lunar soil mixed with a special adhesive that unfortunately still needs to be